Hey guys, Level Cap here. Today we've got an extensive patch notes list for changes coming to Battlefield 5, both Firestorm and the base game. We got weapon changes, loot changes, all kinds of stuff, and some information on the new Battlefield coin, basically the paid cosmetic system that is launching tomorrow on the 4th. This is the first time in a while we've heard anything about the system, and it's going to launch with some new epic items tomorrow. Now let's start off with the patch notes, then we'll get into the Battlefield coin and even some tweets that have added a little bit of extra information to what we're getting tomorrow. First of all, the very long list of patch notes failed to mention any changes were coming to the loot system. Naturally, the community freaked out because this is one of the most requested changes for the Firestorm game mode. Fortunately, though, a DICE developer did just tweet out that there are dropped loot behavior improvements in Firestorm once the new update is out. So if you haven't seen what this looks like, it's basically loot will not collide with itself, so nothing can lay on top of another piece of loot. You shouldn't have to spend quite as much time digging through somebody's dropped loot to try and find what you actually want. It's a pretty decent quick fix for the looting system, but I don't believe it represents the ultimate goal of what they want to do with Firestorm. Nonetheless, this is a very big and important change that's coming tomorrow. When getting into the rest of the patch notes, focusing on Firestorm first, the V1 and artillery strikes now count as gadget kills. They should also show up properly in the kill feed. Pistols that have been picked up by the player now properly drop on the ground if the player dies. I noticed this a bit early game. If I was having pistol fights with somebody and I killed somebody, they would sometimes die without dropping a weapon. I was like, what the heck just happened? Players are now able to use the flare gun while in the water. Grenades now collide with the cover of the pickup truck instead of going through it. They added a red outline to the artillery strike on the map to make it more visible. In dark areas of the map, it could actually be really hard to see. If the user cancels and resumes the interaction with a safe, it will now always reset. Several other safe UI interaction bugs have been fixed. The napalm helmet that you could unlock will no longer obstruct the player when aiming down sights. Players can now jump as soon as they reach the start of the jump location. You might have noticed that it would take a few seconds after there. Now it should be instantaneous. When getting killed by another player, the text for the weapon used should now show properly. The interaction detection has been improved to avoid issues with loot near objectives and vehicles. This is probably in addition to the way that it has been updated when it drops from players. The first wave of capture points now start earlier before the zone starts to shrink for the first time. This is good. Often capture points would pop up in an area that was going to be consumed by fire in the very near future, making it hard to actually get access to many of the capture points. This should also give more objectives and agency to players early in the game. Now, there's a huge long list of fixes where players could get stuck between rocks and other objects, and texture updates and floating objects and whatnot. Honestly, it's kind of a boring list. I'm not going to go through the whole thing. Just know that if you notice some floating things or got stuck in the map somewhere, it could be fixed. If you want to know the specific locations, feel free to read through the patch notes themselves. The PAC 40 AT towable, which is located near the southeast of Haldiller, I can't pronounce any of the names on this map, has been moved 10 meters to make it more useful. Now moving into general fixes, they fixed a bug that enabled players to use airplanes during the match start timer period. Also, the animation when entering and exiting vehicles is now smoother and should have less unintended sudden camera movements. They fixed an issue that could cause a temporary black screen when reloading a stationary turret while using its zoom functionality at the same time. They also made audio improvements to the audibility of other player tanks. When it comes to weapons, gadgets, and specializations, they fixed the Ribby Roll's aperture sights being misaligned and using the wrong magnification. They tweaked the Gewehr 43 reflex sights to look a lot better. They also tweaked the Bren max recoil, which was too low. I'm curious to see how this affects it in Firestorm also. The Bren is one of my favorite weapons in Firestorm. They reduced the M1897 damage drop-off start by 1 meter for all ammo types. This is the shotgun. Our data indicated that the 1897 had a bit too much range compared to other shotguns. Now, I noticed that people were saying shotguns were overpowered, or have been since a few patches ago. I haven't noticed this as much on PC, but maybe it's a bit different on console. They also changed the way that general camera recoil works. When firing weapons, they are now allowed to go a bit more off-center. The true point of aim will follow the weapon and is not fixed to the center of the screen. This is actually a pretty big change to UI and how aiming and recoil would work. I'm gonna have to test this out tomorrow and see how it actually affects the overall game. They changed the way SMG and assault rifle dispersion increases while firing in ADS. The second, third, and sometimes fourth shots for low rate of fire weapons are now more predictable, while later shots are less predictable. Also, they shorten the time it takes for dispersion to decrease when no longer firing. This means short bursts are a bit more effective, while long bursts or mag dumps are a bit less effective. This is cool. I like this, and it also feels like they might be going back to some of the weapon mechanics that were very prevalent in the Battlefield 3, Battlefield 4 days. Bullet impact sounds have been further localized, and the amount by which they can attenuate non-player weapons has been reduced. They've also improved the audibility of single-shot weapons. They improved the audibility of late reflections for automatic weapons based on distance from listener. They've adjusted headphone mix for low frequencies to smooth out positioning. Basically, lots of weapon and audio changes in this one. Hopefully things get nice and smooth. When it comes to soldier tweaks, the first-person animation when picking up health packs and ammo packs has been moved to take up less screen space for improved visibility. Thank God. This was so annoying when you would hold up a med pack in the middle of your screen, like preventing you from seeing anything in front of you. Soldiers that die in vehicles are now ejected and can be revived. This is actually a pretty big change to the overall meta. I'm curious to see if this actually transfers over into Firestorm. When it comes to UI changes, they fixed an issue where the ticket counter was not visible when playing Breakthrough, Frontlines, and Airborne. They fixed a bug which could prevent players from deploying, prompting the error message, "The class you have selected is violating the server rules." They added the soldier stance icon from single player into multiplayer. This is actually really good. Sometimes you would spawn in basically locked into a certain stance and not realize it for a little bit. Stability improvements. They have made multiple crash fixes and stability improvements. Okay, good. Firestorm's been crashing a bit. I hope it crashes less. And when it comes to stability, there's been a really annoying frame drop bug or just situation in the game that's been in the game since launch. I could be getting great FPS, locked at 144, it'll drop down to 50 for like half a second and then go back up. The effect of this is a very chunky feeling, often in the middle of combat, often throwing off my aim or something like that. So hopefully DICE can get this fixed. I've seen a lot of other players complaining about frame drops and whatnot, and this is on systems that should easily be able to handle this game. There's been a number of PC-specific graphical improvements. They've improved the ray tracing to improve reflection quality. They've made improvements to the DLSS sharpening, and they've made a bunch of other changes to high-end visual effects. All right, let's talk about Battlefield currency. This is essentially the microtransaction system for Battlefield 5. It has not been implemented in the game yet. It will be tomorrow. Battlefield currency can be purchased using real-world money. I believe it can be done through the in-game menu systems, and it can be used to purchase cosmetic items, elite sets, which are custom soldiers, essentially more cosmetic items, and time savers, which are designed to allow you to progress through Tides of War systems a little bit faster, or I believe they'll also have versions in the future that will allow you to access Tides of War content from the past that maybe you missed. It appears DICE is doing their best to avoid any sort of pay-to-win mechanics here, and it does seem like there will be a bunch of crossover between cosmetic items that you can earn in-game, or if you just want to skip that earn phase, you can pay for it with real money. I'm fine with this. It's totally cool with me. If you play the game a lot, you can get lots of cosmetic items. If you want to spend some money and get those cosmetic items faster, I have absolutely no problems with that. Then there will be some skins that I believe will only be available with Battlefield currency. And then there will be the elite soldiers. They've got 2 elite soldiers that are coming In Chapter 3, we'll be getting them a little bit later. There's Seamus and Ernest, one for each faction, and they're going to have their own custom animations and end screen animations and voiceovers, and I believe custom melee weapons as too. It actually sounds kind of cool, and I'm very curious to see what they look like in game. Now, aside from just buying Battlefield currency with real world money, you'll also be able to buy starter packs and premium starter packs. These will give you some Battlefield currency in addition to a bunch of cosmetic items to start off with. Obviously, the basic starter pack is less customization, and the premium starter pack is more customization. The specific details of these starter packs is actually listed in the document if you want to check it out for yourself, but just think a bunch of vehicle skins, soldier skins, and weapon skins. Anyway, this is a pretty big update. The armory resetting lately has just been straight up trolling the community, and people are like, where's the new cosmetic items? Like, it keeps resetting with no new cosmetics, and everybody's super pissed off. I can see one potential pitfall here is if DICE re-releases those American Soldier cosmetics and some of the other cool cosmetics that were available very briefly early on. If they put that behind a paywall, people will get pissed off because just simply there's been a very big lack of cosmetics coming into this game that people can get access to. And if those ones come back, but you have to buy them with Battlefield currency, I think people will be annoyed. So I see a few potential pitfalls here, but for the most part, I'm really excited for this update tomorrow. It's a lot of new stuff to look forward to. The looting system for Firestorm is a very big one. The armory update and cosmetic stuff is going to be big. I'm excited to see what that's bringing to the game. A lot of new exciting stuff, weapon changes, all that. Let me know what you guys think about this update. I'll be playing it tomorrow, live streaming it tomorrow, as well as live streaming today. So drop on by, hang out, come say hi, and I'll see you next time. This is Level Cap signing off.